In the early 2nd century AD, the Roman Emperor Trajan began a new course of aggressive expansion for the Roman Empire by invading Dacia in a series of wars and annexing it to the list of Roman conquests. What were these Dacian Wars? How was Trajan's Roman army successful, and what were the results of these wars? Let's find out. The territory of Dacia was what we would identify today as modern Romania. The Dacians dwelt along the Danube River. Initially, Julius Caesar and his successor, Augustus Caesar, were interested in potentially expanding into the Danube region north of the territory already conquered by Rome, but their visions proved futile due to several factors, including Julius Caesar's untimely assassination in 44 BC, and the devastating Roman defeat by the German tribes in the Teutoburg Forest in AD 9. However, in AD 85, while Rome was under the rule of Emperor Domitian, the Dacians crossed the Danube, threatening the security of the Roman province Moesia. Domitian responded with the Roman army, but the Roman historian Cassius Dio describes his efforts critically, quote, "Domitian made an expedition against them, to be sure, but he did not enter into real conflict," end quote. Domitian ultimately ended up forming a treaty between Rome and the Dacian king Decebalus, establishing Dacia as a client kingdom of Rome. Dacia being made a client kingdom only, rather than an actual conquered province, was considered by many as insulting to Rome's pride. Trajan became emperor in AD 98, 2 years after the death of Domitian, in what was the first large-scale military expansion of the Roman Empire since Claudius's invasion of Britain in AD 43. Trajan, violating the treaty made by Domitian with the Dacian king Decebalus, invaded Dacia in AD 101. Though the Romans called the Dacians barbarians, the Dacians were no easy foes. Cassius Dio describes the Dacian king Decebalus in the following manner, quote, "He had a good comprehension of the rules of warfare and was good at putting them in practice, displayed sagacity in advancing, took the right moment for retreating, was an expert in ambuscades, a professional warrior, knew how to make good use of a victory and to turn a defeat to an advantage. Hence he showed himself for a long time a worthy antagonist of the Romans." End quote. However, as Decebalus soon realized, he had met his match in Trajan. Though emperor, Trajan was also, to quote J. Baldwin, quote, "an outstanding and aggressive soldier," end quote. Cassius Dio describes him as affable, humble, winsome, and intelligent. He writes, quote, "Trajan had a great reputation for justice, for bravery, and for simple living. He was strong in body, and his intellectual powers were at their highest. He was loved by all and dreaded by none save the enemy." End quote. Dio adds further that, quote, "In the course of these encounters, he, Trajan, personally performed many deeds of good generalship and bravery, and his soldiers ran many risks and displayed great prowess on his behalf." End quote. In the First Dacian War, fought from 101 to 102, Trajan and his army constructed a huge bridge over the Danube, conducted sieges, and occupied the Dacian capital of Sarmizegetusa. However, that was not the end. King Decebalus tried to get revenge in 105 and retook Sarmizegetusa and its occupying Roman garrison. Trajan invaded Dacia again, bringing the war to completion in 106. Cassius Dio writes, quote, "Decebalus, when his capital and all his territory had been occupied and he was himself in danger of being captured, committed suicide and his head was brought to Rome." End quote. What were the results of Trajan's Dacian Wars? Dacia proved a very valuable province to Rome because of its salt, gold, silver, and other mineral mines. Furthermore, the Romans, in typical fashion, soon began the Romanization of Dacia, turning the cities into Roman colonies and building roads. Perhaps the most relevant thing to us, though, that came out of the Dacian Wars is Trajan's Column. This monument is a gigantic relief sculpture wrapped around a column that chronicles Trajan's progress in the war. Trajan's Column is extremely valuable to historians because it is the best extant representation of what the Roman army would have actually looked like in action. While the Dacian province was lost by the Roman Empire to the barbarian tribes threatening from the north within less than 200 years of Trajan's conquest, Trajan's Column remains with us today, still providing a vivid picture of the past.